All right. On another episode of Soothing Semantics, I'm your host, Rafi Pinsky. Make sure to subscribe, like, share, smash the like button. And we are ready to go. And don't forget, real estate. Buy, sell, rent, or invest. Follow me on Rafi the Realtor. My contact info can be found on Instagram. If you have any trouble, you can send me a DM. You can comment on my YouTube videos. There are plenty of ways to get in contact with me. Today we have a fellow realtor by the name of Jensy. He is still a colleague of mine, but we work at different companies now. Great friend, great dude. Just closed 2 deals recently. So congratulations, bro. Really proud of you. Really happy for you.
Thank you. Let me
make a little salute. Bada bing. He brought some whiskey for us, so we're gonna drink. And for any real estate agents as well, if for whatever reason you like Jensy more than you like me, then feel free to reach out to him as well. I'm not here to we're here to do business together and grow together. There's plenty of deals for everybody. Without further ado, Jensy works with Keller Williams, and he has been in the game you've been in the game for a little less than me, right? Well, like 2 years now?
2 years. Yeah, 2 years. I had my license in Boston a few years back, in 2017.
Okay.
But then I moved to Florida. But then I didn't end up getting my license till 2019, but I didn't go full-time till 2020.
There's a lot of people like that. They started doing it. They took
2021. 2021, sorry.
Right. So they started taking time off, and then whatever it is, they get a side job or they take time off, whatever.
Well, yeah, the bills had to be paid, and I had just recently moved to Florida with my wife. So I ended up getting a sales job, where I was at that job for about 2 years before I decided to finally make the jump full time.
Gotcha. So just like everyone else, you kind of tried juggling different things until you figured that real estate was your game. Yeah,
no, and I always knew that I was going to go full time, that I wanted to go full time. I just didn't know if it was the right time, no pun intended. So, and I think I took too long. Now that I look back, I wish I had done it sooner.
I wish you'd done it sooner too.
Yeah.
Then we would have been friends for longer.
Yeah. Exactly.
Indeed. So, dude's on creatine, making pretty big gains these days. I see him in the gym, crazy, swole. So, tell me some of your challenges that you've had and continue to have as a realtor. What are things you think?
I think the biggest one is schedule and learning to value yourself.
Okay.
And to just explain that a little bit more, when you go into real estate full time or any business as an entrepreneur, you have this sense of flexibility. You can make your own hours. That's kind of what you always hear. But when you get into being an entrepreneur, you realize that that's not the way this works. You have to make a schedule. You have to be very focused and very straightforward with what it is you prioritize each day to accomplish and get you closer to your goals. And it's something that I had to learn very quickly my first few months. And then the other part of putting value on yourself and in your business is that everyone thinks that you have more time. If you're an entrepreneur, or that you're not working a regular job where you're stuck, you're clocking in, you're clocking out. And you have to have that respect for your business to make sure that people understand, not only the people around you, but also even clients. Clients may want to call you at certain times. They might want your services at times, maybe you're with family, and you have to really get good at juggling all of that.
So what do you think you implemented in order to make that better, in order to structure your day better? What were things that you've implemented?
Well, following a calendar and following the schedule. That's the start. And then, another thing is I read the I don't know if you've read it, the One Thing.
The One Thing by Gary Keller, yeah, I read it.
Yeah, I read that book, and it really made everything a lot simpler, because it's really easy to wake up and feel like there's so much to get done. But when you really make it the one thing and you focus on just that one thing you need to get done each day to be successful, it makes it very simple. And this business is very simple.
Simple but not easy. So what to you is the one thing? I mean, Gary Keller talks about the one thing is, but I just want to hear you answer it. What's the one thing in real estate that we need to prioritize more than anything else?
Whether it be set appointments, because you can control that. You can control how many appointments you set. I believe you can. But overall, the bigger picture is to get more business each day.
Yeah, it's
find more business.
Generating leads, yeah.
Doesn't matter where it comes from, but you need to find more business.
Absolutely. In any business, if you think about it, and
exactly.
You need clients, you need leads in anything, whether it's restaurants, finance, tech, medicine. If you don't have clients, you don't have business, and that's really what it comes down to. So in sales, what I realize is for the first few years, you're really spending the time putting water in the pool. You know, eventually you get to a point where the water is full, where the pool is full, and now it's just circulating through the filters. And you know, some water is going to fall out of the pool. A lot new water is going to drop into it. Eventually, you buy a bigger pool and you continue to add water over time. But in the first couple of years, that may be different for different people. Some people may really start to expand their business in the first 2 years. Some people need 4 or 5 years until the business really starts to explode. The thing I notice is, I mean, there's a learning curve and you're constantly learning. With that said, it's lead generation and extreme consistency. Just bulldozing through challenges and problems and continuing to put your best foot forward every day, again and again and again and again. And then something eventually starts to stick. You continue to implement those things that actually work. And then before you know it, it's going to take time, but you eventually have a business that's running where you still have to obviously be active in the business unless you build a team and you have people under you who are managing that team, and then you can kind of just do your thing. But what I mean by that is you set up systems where the business is operating regardless, and your clients are being contacted. So this email campaign thing that I just started, I'm very excited for that because my follow-up game was pretty good, but this email campaign allows me to continue to stay in contact with people who might have forgotten who I was. And there's no doubt that I've lost out on clients because it's hard to remember to call every single person on a constant basis. And with the emails, even if they're not ready to do something for 5 years, if they constantly receive your emails, you're going to stay top of mind. And they might decide to work with their cousin. Doesn't guarantee anything. The likelihood is considerably higher that you're going to get a lot more business that way. It's just...
Yeah, and I mean, you're doing it in the back end. So you don't have to think about it. If you set up the system, then it's getting done anyways. And now you don't have to prioritize. The priority comes in just setting it up.
And so you don't have to be accountable for it because you took the initial steps to prepare and put it into motion, and now it's just working on its own. And that's what's so awesome about it. So I'm really stoked for that. Guys, if you'd like to receive my weekly emails, they're beautifully designed emails. We're going to make them better over time. They're fantastic. Just to give you a quick rundown, the first week is going to have just listed and sold properties in the area. I'm writing a list of some of the most major cities in South Florida. If there's a city that you're looking to buy or sell in and it's not listed on my email, please reply to the email. Or if you have my number will be there as well, my cell number. You can send me a text or call me and say, hey, I'm looking to buy or sell in Miramar. I don't see it on your list. Can you send me a list of listed and sold property? And I'll be happy to do that. The second will be market trends. So for all of you stat and data people, you'll have a bunch of different stats and data. If anything you're interested in seeing is not on that, again, reach out to me and I'll get it to you. Third email is going to be real estate news. So anything that's really happening in South Florida, things that are happening in the U.S. in general. And then the fourth email will be awesome things to do in any given neighborhood. So new restaurants, parks, shopping, things of that nature. So you'll really be in the know of everything and anything real esate. Send me your email. Let's get going.
Send them your email.
Absolutely.
You gotta send them your email.
Jeez, they gotta do it.
Why not?
They gotta do it. They gotta do it now. I think it's so valuable. Even realtors, if you're a realtor and you wanna put something together like this as well, I'm happy to send this over to you so you can learn from me and implement it however you want to. But I'm happy to do that for you. So you've mentioned some of the challenges. Now, what do you think are some things that you can now continue to implement, not continue, but things that you haven't done yet that you're looking to add to your business that you think will take your business to the next level?
I mean, right now I'm focused more on doubling my business. So everything I've done, and I've done well, is doubling and tripling it.
Okay.
I mean, this is not for now, but maybe in the future, getting somebody to handle the social media side. I'm not, I don't really put too much focus on the social media side, and I know I should, but there was a moment, I think, after my first year that I was like, let me just really get really good at the skills. Let me really get really good at doing the activities, like the lead generation, the setting appointments, the showings, servicing the clients, and get really so good at that and master that so that I can then move on to those other things that I want to work on. Like maybe doing video content, social media, all of that.
There's so many components.
There's so many ways to do it. So
that's going to lead us into two discussions. First off, what it takes to be an entrepreneur, because we spoke about that the other day, and I want to get into that. And also how when you're doing a business like real estate, where you're an entrepreneur, you have so many different ways to do something. And people go, oh, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? Why don't you maybe send out flyers, send out individually written, personalized written notes. Or why don't you do email things? Or why don't you make reels every day? Why don't you? It's like, they're all good ideas. The problem is, I will literally lose my fucking mind if I'm trying 50 different things at once. Let me try a few things that I know are tried and true that absolutely will benefit me. I'll try those things, especially because I'm not rich. So I need to be realistic, and I need to allocate funds and do what I can do so I can actually build the business over time. Sure, if I had money falling from the sky, then I can implement all these things. Fantastic, right? It's like, well, that would solve everyone's problems. I can put billboards all over South Florida on the highway, which wouldn't even necessarily be the smartest use of money. But theoretically, if I just had a ton of money to throw around, like, let me just put my face in front of everybody. So there's so many things you can do, but
there's always something to do, something else to do.
Sure.
But we're only you're only one person. You can only do so much. And you have to get the business, you have to scale it enough to be able to then bring some people in to leverage it.
Absolutely. So the email campaign is something I'm starting with now. Looking forward to it. Now, this leads us into the next conversation. What do you think about, for people that are in real estate or not in real estate, when you're trying something and you're not in this position where it's very apparent that you're doing it at the highest level, when you're still newer to it, you're still doing it on a more of an amateur level, what is your advice to people that may be trying something, either real estate or not real estate related, where they are getting all of this outside noise from other people? What do you think they can do to be able to properly filter the outside noise? Not to say that they shouldn't listen to anybody, but what's your advice on how they can take some outside info but still stick to their guns and do what needs to be done?
A big thing is find someone that you can trust that has done what you want to do, is where you want to be, or at least has accomplished it in the past. I would listen to them. One, don't listen to anybody that just hasn't done what you're trying to do.
Sure.
Or giving you opinions on a business that they've never had.
I would just interject and say that I take what people say who've done what I'm doing at the highest level 10 times, 100 times more seriously. However, to completely ignore critics, even if they have no experience, I would say you should be cognizant of it. So say you have a video with poor audio quality or poor video quality.
Yeah.
If somebody hasn't made any content, it doesn't mean they're wrong. People that are in the comments on your videos, or people that might say something in passing, like, oh, maybe you should do this or that, I would be willing to listen, but that's where your intuition really comes into play. because you have to realize who actually gives a shit to help you and who really just is looking for.
Yeah, you have to separate the two.
Because some people are just looking for faults. They have absolutely nothing going on in their life, and all they want to do is find flaws in what you're doing and point them out because it makes them feel better about themselves, especially if they see that it's giving you, if you're responding to it and it's taking up time out of your day, it gives them a sense of power, which to me, I don't have any animosity towards people like that, because I just feel that they don't have anything going on with themselves.
Yeah, and I mean it can be all positive. It's not a bad thing.
Sure.
You just have to make sure you're not getting distracted with that, you know, because everyone has an opinion. Anybody has an opinion on anything, you know. I can have an opinion on how to make couches. You know, this one should be like this, like that. But I'm not an interior designer or a couch expert. But
Yes, I was told from people that you were a couch expert.
yeah, but
It's a sex joke.
yeah, no, but yeah, you.
He's married. He's married now. He's off the market. Okay.
Yes, and no, you can take advice from people that haven't done something you're doing, but you just have, like you said, you have to have the intuition to understand if you should at all, one, and if it's just a distraction, because sometimes people just want to feel like they helped, and that's a good thing. You know, it's a good thing, but
I would feel like they took like a little bit of a part, and they have a little
yes,
chunk in your journey.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
So when you succeed, they're like, by the way,
yes,
I was there.
they were like,
remember?
yeah, like I remember I gave you advice on this, and then, like, for example, if the video content, if they tell you to fix the quality or something, and then you start getting millions of views, now they want to act like they had a part in that. It's like, no, I was gonna get there anyways, you know. But
there's really the fact of the matter is 99% of the advice I get from people who don't make content is shit I already know, and I think that they don't necessarily realize that I know, so they tell it to me, and I appreciate it, but it's like, I already knew this, dude. I just it's happening. There's really nothing that someone can tell me now that I don't know. Let me reiterate that, or let me verbalize that better. Generally, the only time where I hear something and I get this epiphany moment is from someone who makes content on a higher level. It's just very simple. When it comes to entrepreneurship, right? And you hear this floating around, you see a lot of content where people go, you know, you have to do things consistently and you're going to experience pain, and people have heard all these things. Before you were an entrepreneur as opposed to now, what can you tell people about what it's really like? Because when we spoke initially, and I loved when you said this, it got me all fired up. You were like, dude, if people knew what it really entailed, like, most people would never even try it, right? So what do you say more on a broad level, not even about real estate specifically, but about the life of an entrepreneur and all the ups and downs? What would your advice be to somebody before they go into any entrepreneurship journey?
my advice would be that you're going to fail. Mm-hmm. You're going to fail a lot, and you have to ask yourself, do you have the mindset, like a strong mindset, and also do you have the time to fail? What I mean is, it could be financially, resources. How long can you fail for? Because you're going to fail. And if you don't, probably you had some easy, maybe you have a rich dad or something that has rich friends that's going to buy all your stuff or help you sell houses. But most likely you're going to fail. That's why most people fail, especially in the real estate industry. I think, what is it, like 90%?
It's close
fail
to
in the first 2 years.
Bro, it's the first year. I'm pretty sure it's the first year. They have a stat of about 86%. Listen, stats are very funky to me. I very, very much don't trust a lot of stats. So there's no way it's 86% every year, because they always throw around that number. I can say confidently it's got to be 70 plus, like year over year. Like it's anywhere from 70 to 90%. You know, you just see it, bro. Like, I've had so many challenges in this industry. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't. It's been really tough, man. Like, I've had months that are great. I've had months that are super slow. You just have to be willing to outlast, man. You just have to be willing to get up and be like, I don't care how hard it gets. I'm sticking this out. And you just know that most people don't have the bandwidth and the fortitude to just keep doing it like every fucking day, again and again. Even if you think you feel stupid, other people might think you're stupid, other people might think this or think that. You just have to have enough of enough inner confidence to say, I don't care how long it takes, I know it's going to work. And the craziest thing is you don't actually know that, but you have to have enough of a knowledge. Like, I just know, I know that I'm going to be a great realtor. Like, I think I already am, but I mean, selling a lot of property at high prices often. I just know I will. When? I don't have an exact time.
Yeah.
Will it happen? I know 150%. I'm looking at the camera and telling you without any shadow of doubt, without any question whatsoever.
Yeah.
It will happen because I just won't quit.
I remember I was getting in my car from the showing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was super excited. I was like, I'm going to call this realtor. The buyer loves the property. We got it. This is like maybe my second or third deal that I was working on. And the seller is like, or the agent was like, you know, hey, we just took an offer like 20 minutes ago. But I had just spoken to him like 3 hours before when I scheduled the showing. So I remember I was so pissed.
Bro, it's
like almost like that ruined my whole day.
It knocks you off.
And that is like nothing to me now. That's regular bullshit to me now.
Same here.
It's just another day in real estate.
Expect it. You're just that you have to. It's not that you just, so people understand this. Never be negative. Never say, "Oh, it's not going to happen. It's probably not going to happen." But I expect the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah.
What that means is I don't go into anything. If I'm about to meet a $7 million client, I don't say, "Oh my God, we're going to close this out." I go into a positive. I go into, let's make this happen. Let's make it a great day. Let's get the deal done. But I don't act as if it already happened. It's not that I'm insecure about it. It's not that I don't believe it can and will happen. It's that I don't put this deal on a pedestal so I don't disappoint myself. I say, listen, I'm ready to go at it with a smile on my face and all the positivity in the world, but I'm not going to get knocked down if it doesn't work out. I'm expecting that there's a possibility it might not work out, so this way I'm not disappointed. I can brush it off, go and do more business. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's just... I don't like to say realistic because I think realistic is like a dangerous word because it keeps you small. But it's more about understanding the realities of what could happen is what it comes down to.
Yeah, and that's the part that separates the ones that are really in this, for the long haul.
Dude, yeah.
Because at that moment, that weekend, I could have just went and applied to a job, and been like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Like I had the anger for it. I was angry. I was pissed. That buyer never ended up buying anything.
You would have ended up just destroying the office. They would have hired you at the 9 to 5. You would have threw a stapler at someone.
Yeah.
You would have smashed a bottle of whiskey over someone's head.
No, not all that. But but
he's pretty violent. I'm joking.
But
what a sweetest
Rafi, man, what's up? You get me in trouble. No, but
he's literally a sweetheart.
But what I was gonna say is that usually after downs like that, and I have 20, 30 more stories after that one where I was more pissed, more angry.
Give me one more.
One more is a lender one. So I was working with a VA buyer. This buyer actually...
VA, for whoever doesn't know, is Veterans Assistance. Yeah. If you're a veteran, you can buy a property with no down payment. Veterans, I understand. I'm an ex-veteran myself. Reach out to me. Happy to make it happen for you.
So this buyer, first showings, put an offer. So he saw 3 properties. The first 2 he wanted to put an offer already. Mm-hmm. Just met this guy. So I call his lender, who he had a lender he was working with already. He had already gotten his VA loan with, and then when I talked to the agent, I set everything up. Already did the negotiations. Everything's looking beautiful. We're gonna put the deal together. Put the deal together, and I call the lender just to it's just something that Lee has taught me. Shout out to Lee. I call the lender to make sure everything's gonna look fine. There's no obstacles in the way, and the lender tells me that he doesn't have enough cash. And now, keep in mind, he's a VA buyer, so he doesn't necessarily need tons of cash for closing or down payment. Mm-hmm. but he still needed something, and that's something that sometimes people don't know. Like you still need sometimes, usually something, maybe a few $1,000s to make sure it's depending on what price range the house is at. And the lender pretty much said like, oh, he doesn't have enough for that. But again, this lender I didn't never worked with, so pretty much at that moment, like the deal fell apart. I couldn't even put the deal together. And again, I was very upset. I remember it was during Bold. I think it was October of 2021. I remember I was stepping in and out of Bold to take these calls, and it didn't work out. And I needed that deal that day. I really needed to make it work. But again, like every deal that doesn't work, the next month, 2 months later on, I have the best month of my career.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps happening that way, and that's what helps me stay in the game.
So what did you learn? What did you learn from these things? What are your takeaways from maybe even the structuring the deal? Like let's say, right now, what I take from that is making sure your buyers are pre-approved before you show them property.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to learn, and there's still so much
That's
to learn.
That's what's so beautiful about it, man. Is like when you just continue to be relentless, you keep doing it. You learn enough eventually where a deal happens, and then you use that momentum from the deal and the money from the deal to continue to source more deals, grow your business, and do more. It's like you have to be willing to go through the learning curve to eventually get to a place where things start to steadily increase. You have to be willing to move over that, to get over that hump.
And that's what I mean by when people are trying to jump into creating their own business is understanding how long of that can you take? How many failures can you take? Because that is the learning curve.
You have to have the why. Like Gary Keller talks about this, and a lot of other entrepreneurs talk about this. You have to have a reason behind why you're doing it. Like the money is not a good enough reason.
Hell no.
You have to, the money is not going to work. You have to have a reason. It can be to retire your parents. It can be to take care of a sick parent. It can be for your children. It can be you have to figure out why you do what you do, and then you are just willing to do it until.
Maybe you just don't want to work for somebody.
Oh, that's a big why.
It's a big why. It's a big why.
That's a big
why. That's.
No, but you know what though?
And
I don't think anybody ideally wants to work for someone.
And you're right.
I don't know if that's a good enough why.
It can be for certain people.
Sure.
I think it depends who you are. Some people because this is the thing, and this is another thing that I learned about when I got into real estate is, especially with the scheduling, is that you start to realize you actually need to treat your business like you work for somebody, like you work for yourself. I think there was something, I don't know if it was who it was that told me, but imagine if someone was to give you, $100,000 or $200,000 and then watch your schedule where you did every day, would your business stay afloat, And you have to ask yourself that the thing with owning your own business is that you need to have that accountability from the start. And you have it when you have a job. It's just a little different because you have a boss who holds you accountable. They give you a stable check, but then when you go on your own, you need to almost create that because it's not there. Like it goes away. It's not there.
Because people don't value themselves as much as they value their boss.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. Yes.
They look at their boss. They see their boss as a money resource, right?
Yeah.
My boss is paying me $200,000. He clearly has the resources to do that. I do not. I need to rely on him to pay my bills. And so therefore I pedestalize him or her, because it could be a woman too. I pedestalize him or her. And this way they're the person that I need to do the work for, as opposed to when I work for myself, I don't necessarily value myself.
You take shortcuts when you work for yourself.
100%, and you're hoping you can just take the easy route 100%. But with them, you know that if you don't do the work they require, you're fucked, you're fired. So you have to switch the mindset as an entrepreneur as I need to take myself seriously.
How about firing yourself, bro? Like sometimes you might have to have that.
There have been countless days where like I looked at the day, and it's not that I don't feel I put in enough effort, but looking back now, I can look back at a lot of older days and say, holy shit, I didn't do that day properly. Like I didn't schedule that day properly. I didn't have the knowledge I should have had. But it's all it's hindsight's 20/22. And
what's funny is that we really don't have that many shortcuts we can take, because when we as entrepreneurs, if we don't make the calls or don't put the deals together, we don't make money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same as a job. A job, you can make a mistake here and there. You're not gonna get fired immediately.
You can
know?
sit on the toilet and for an
Exactly.
hour and still get paid.
And you're still gonna get that stable check next week. See, and that's the switch. But it takes a little time to realize that.
You know what gets me? When people say, "Oh, I have the day off for Memorial Day," or like I have the day off for whatever, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with being in that position. It's just more of I only have a day off when I take one. Meaning like I'll work if I know I have that's what's beautiful. That's the beautiful side. There are much more beautiful sides to entrepreneurship. Because we're not talking about the negatives, we're talking about the challenges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The beautiful parts about entrepreneurship is when one person is taking off for Veterans Day, I have a $5 million listing going on market on that day. And like, you better believe, as much as I support the veterans and you know I'm there for them, I got a $5 million deal to do. I don't give a shit about a barbecue on whatever day. I'm here to make business happen.
It's the best day to make calls.
But
that's where everybody's at home.
That's true too. But it's like, I mean, yeah, and then people say, okay, well, when do you enjoy your life? That we can go down a rabbit hole with that is most people don't want to sacrifice a lot of days of relaxation to do the things that entrepreneurs want to do. It's the sort of thing where you either get it or you don't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Most people are going to think you're crazy. Most people are going to think why are you so money focused? Why are you so work focused? It's the desire to be autonomous and have the freedom, because I understand on a very simple level that when you have the money, you can do shit the way you want to do it. And when you don't have money, you have to make all these concessions and compromises that you wouldn't normally want to, because you just don't have another option. When you have the money, you can decide where you want to eat, where you want to go, who you want to date, where you want to live, whether you want to do something or not want to do something. And when you don't, you have to be very willing to compromise on things that you wouldn't normally compromise on. Like you have to compromise on values sometimes that you just wouldn't compromise on, but you just don't have another choice. And that's a very shitty position to be in, and most people are in that position, and they just live these very sad, disappointing lives. It's not to say that you can't be happy if you're not wealthy. You can be poor financially and still be happy if you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're certain, entrepreneurs are people that value freedom. They need freedom in order to feel fulfilled and happy. And then there's also the idea, and I'm speaking for myself, but I think I speak for most entrepreneurs. There's also a level of conquest. I don't mean that in a bad sense. It's an idea of just overcoming obstacles and winning. That we need. We need those victories. That's what gives us fulfillment. I don't get fulfillment in just Randy telling me to do a job, doing it, going home and eating dinner. I need to build my own shit.
Yeah, it's very rewarding. It just takes a while to get the reward.
Oh yeah, it takes it. You're gonna get fucking kicked in the ass a million times before you get there.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah, that's what I always try to remember whenever I go through a bad time or just a bad situation, a deal that doesn't go the way I plan, anything like that. I just try to think about everyone that has accomplished what I want to, that has that success that I see for myself, and understanding that they had to go through this. So me going through this is just getting me closer. And that's when you learn. Everything I've learned that's made me more confident today when I'm working with clients is from the failures. It's not from the wins. The wins are that's the easy parts. The failures is what tests me, what shows me, like, am I really about this?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I just a freaking fraud? Like, and that it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. But it's hard to appreciate that until after the fact.
Yes.
Because when you're dealing with the pain of it, you're like, oh, why?
Why me?
Why
it's like
me?
The why me thing, yeah. And when you have wins, you have to appreciate it then. When you have a small win, I try to, I'll tell my wife, hey, let's go grab dinner at a nice new restaurant. Like, it could be a Wednesday. If that's the deal, I put a deal together that day, I'm going out. Like,
mm-hmm.
I'll try to enjoy that, But the next day, you understand, you have to find that next one,
You are absolutely correct. Yeah, it's like I said maybe 20 minutes ago, it's the combination, and there's so many components to doing something at a high level, and I'm not where I want to be. Not even close. But I know myself enough to know that I'm a fucking machine. I just am. And I'm not, there are a lot of people I see on social media, they're like, you will not outwork me. No, there are people that will outwork me. Elon Musk will outwork me. There are people that will work 7 days a week, 24/7 for 15 years straight. I am a very hard worker.
But it's not black and white. I mean,
what I'm saying
it depends what you want too,
What I'm saying is I don't care to be a billionaire. I don't care to be the richest man in the world. I don't care to build a public company. I don't need to do things. I don't need to be the number one realtor. I don't need to be the number one podcaster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do both of them at a very high level, much, much higher than the average realtor and the average podcaster. That is what I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep doing it until I get there. Why? Because first off, I know I can. B, because I know that it'll give me a lot of awesome things. And C, I don't really have a C. We'll come up with a C. But we'll also C is because of my why. To me, it's like I think maybe because success is a very exciting, it gives you a very whole,
fulfilling
feeling or whatever. Back in the day, we had to do these very primal things out of necessity, and now people kind of just sit around and we have all these comforts. I like looking at it in that kind of way where we used to have to hunt deer with spears, so I like the idea of gaining these wins, putting them under my belt, becoming more capable. I'm always trying to figure out how I can become more capable, right? So if I take care of my body, and I could definitely get better at that, take care of my body physically, that's a win. If I can get my money right, that's a win. If I can get great at martial arts, become a black belt in a martial art, that's a win. If I can become better at communication with my future wife in my relationship, that's a win. If I can just be an all-around a very well-rounded person, that's great. That's wonderful. That's something I want to do. So in terms of this whole discussion, I think we covered a hell of a lot of ground. I think it was.
Yeah, no, we have so far.
This ended up being very much a self-development podcast. So I'm hoping that anyone who started out in real estate in the last couple of years like we did got a lot of value from this. And I hope that if you want to live a life on your own terms, that you'll stick it through. But I think it's also important that you really understand your why, because not everyone's cut out for this business. If you're not someone who enjoys the everyday, the day-to-day of it, you might be better off getting a job or trying a different industry. You have to also really figure out why you're doing it. The why is the most important thing for me.
For sure.
Understand what you're doing it for. If you're just doing it because you see these realtors on Instagram making a ton of money, you're probably not.
Please don't.
Yeah, don't do it, man. Because you're probably not gonna do. The realtors who are making a lot of money in real estate, they really give a shit. Like they really care, and they were willing to go through immense amounts of pain to get there. Even the ones I would even say even the ones who came from money, they still had to go through challenges. They definitely had it easier, but you're not them. Very small population, a very small percentage of the population had parents that were in the industry, or just had a very strong sphere who was able to give you those wealthy clients from the get-go. If you are not one of those people, it's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of hardship to get there. And neither Jensy or I are at that incredibly high level yet. But we will be, and you just have to be willing to be that person. And if you aren't willing to be that person, save yourself the time and go do something else. That is my suggestion on a very positive note. But it's listen, there are harder things out there. It's not, we're not going to war here, but in a way it is. Business is war to an extent.
Yeah, creating your own business is definitely.
It is, because you're battling yourself. You're fighting yourself every day.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge life test. I would say.
It's beautiful though.
And it makes you stronger, and it really helps you see how strong your mindset is. I think a lot of people think they have strong mindsets, but like you don't really know if you have a strong mindset until you've gone through really tough things.
Without a shadow of a doubt, man.
Yeah.
It always.
Like how could you know? You know.
It always brings
if everything's
me back.
going your way, how would you know?
No, you're 100% right. People, no one wants to go through hardship, but you always appreciate it after the fact.
Yes, yeah.
While you're dealing with it, you never want to be in it. But I also think that over the course of time, you even start to appreciate it. When you feel it happening, you go, you know what? I've been through this before. Not this exact thing, because I think if you're experiencing the exact same problem over and over and over again, it's probably because you haven't learned how to resolve it.
Exactly, yeah.
But if you're experiencing variations of it, you become so much more well equipped at handling it. So if you dealt with one kind of buyer and had a challenge, and now you're dealing with a different kind of buyer with a similar challenge, wait a minute, I recognize this issue, I can tackle this. And you might not be able to resolve it immediately, but you've dealt with that issue before. And now eventually you get to a point where it's so calm, it's you smell it happening and you can handle it right then and there. And then you eventually get to a point where it's just it's literally like driving a car. It's like, oh, that kind of buyer, that kind of problem, that kind of property. 1, 2, 3, 4, let's do it. Let's figure it out. And then you're before you know it, you're in the business for 20 years, and your problems are arising. It's not like these massive agents don't encounter problems. It's that they're so incredibly efficient at solving them. It's just 1, 2, 3, bam, done. I call this mortgage broker, call this title company. That property doesn't work because there's that issue. Let me find another similar property off market, blah, 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 blah. And they're just steamrolling through business because they've been willing to go through incredible amounts of pain to get there. And now they're enjoying the fruits of their labor because they were willing to do what 99.9% of other people weren't.
Right.
And now we have people pedestalize them. But these realtors are like, asshole, do you realize what I was willing to do this shit you weren't willing to do?
Yeah.
This is why
that's the part that people don't see.
This is why I'm sitting here and you're admiring me because you weren't willing to do it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Another thing that I was just thinking about is that I struggled with when I got into real estate is I thought I could help everybody. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but just...
I know exactly what you mean.
Like every lead or every person that had a heartbeat, a pulse, as Lee would say, you think you can help them, and although that's very nice of you, that's not how you build a business. You have to work with people that are ready and able and willing to buy now or sell now, and then everybody else is part of a follow-up plan, and you set up a system for that, like the one you were speaking about with the emails and things like that.
It's super important. You have to know how to say no.
And that's just having respect for yourself and your business.
Yeah,
you have to feed your family now. I don't have to feed my family 6 months from now. I need to feed them next month, this month.
It's so important in an industry like real estate where until your systems build a reliable, consistent amount of business, when you have to worry about sourcing your next deal, you cannot sit there and just take everything you get. You have to be choosy. You have to be picky. You have to be. And eventually, something that I love that Aaron Novello says, I'm sure you've heard of Aaron Novello, he says when you generate, you don't have to tolerate. And when you have a lot of business, you can decide who you want to work with and who you don't. When you don't have a lot of business, you're going to end up taking business that wastes your time, which completely screws up the entire process of this in the first place, because now you're working with people you would have never worked with, or maybe you'd work with them, but you would again put them into a system like you said and say, hey, it's clear that you're not motivated. Say it's the seller and you're pushing to work with the seller and the seller just isn't ready. You can tell very clearly. And you say, okay, listen, go sell on your own, test the market, do whatever you got to do. You have my emails. Whenever you want to reach out to me. If it sells on your own, fantastic. If you don't get the result that you were looking for, you know where to find me. You have all this data. You're getting all the data you need for my emails. Again, I'm here. Reach out to me. Best of luck to you. As opposed to being like, hey, I'm telling you, you can't do it. Like, you think you got this. You think you can do it on your own, but you can't. It's very hard to have this very laid-back, nonchalant attitude when you really need the business. And
it is, and it's something it takes time to learn that. You know, it takes time. You have to fail a little bit. You have to waste the time too. I mean, it's all in the learning. It's all part of the learning.
Bro.
Like, I've had so many clients that maybe I didn't even have a pre-approval, I didn't have a proof of funds, and you know, I want to buy a property, I want to do this, I want to do that. Can I see properties tomorrow? And you go and spend the whole afternoon away from your family to go do this, and then it hits you right in the face later on when you're ready. You're like, okay, so you like this property? What's going on? Oh, well, I'm not really gonna buy now. You know, like, and it's just like, and sometimes you think you can convince them too. That's the other thing, and that's one thing I learned after my first year was, you don't make nobody. You can't make anybody buy a home or sell one.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they want to buy a home or sell one. Your job is to find out what that is. When you find out what that is, that's it. That's how you service them. Because then you can just bridge the gap and help them figure out what it is they need.
It's a huge takeaway.
Yeah,
it's a huge takeaway. You know, people don't tell. There's another Aaron Novello thing, and I'm not sure if this is his own quote or if he took it from someone, but people don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they self-discover.
Yes, and you have to help them self-discover. And
that's a very, very.
I love, and I learned this from Lee and Ralph. Again, shout out to them. I love telling people, not telling them, but asking them.
See this?
Yeah, hey.
See, I put you on blast. I made it all awkward for a second, and look at him, bro, pronouncing shit correctly.
Oh yeah. So what I learned from them is, you kind of tell people the opposite of what they're telling you that they want to do. You know, if I want to sell my house or whatever, and you bring it up like, hey, like, have you thought about renting? You know, renting the property, or like, why? Like, you have to get it out of them. You know, because they're not gonna do it because you're on the phone with them. No one buys or sells because of you or because of the market. There's always a reason. Divorce, or, you know, someone passed away in the family, I need to get rid of the property. Downsize. So that reason is always there. Same with buying. You know, maybe you've been renting. Some people have been renting 10 years and then they want to buy, and it's like, well, why? Why not just keep renting if you've been renting 10 years?
So true.
You have to get them to persuade you on why you should work with them.
Yeah, exactly. You're asking them, hey, well, why wouldn't this be an option as well? Meaning, I see you're looking to sell. Would rent not be an option for you? And then this way they can kind of let you know if selling is really something they want to do, or if you now, by asking that question, they say, you know what, actually maybe renting would be an option. And now you can determine and decipher whether selling is actually of most importance, or if they just didn't have enough knowledge to make that decision. So
or it'll come up while you're under contract, and
oh my God,
and now you got to back out, and now they want the rest. It's the stuff will come out. Yeah, no, the real reason will always come out. It just depends if you wasted time before it came out.
Yeah, that just brings me to bulletproofing the transaction, which you and I are still learning how to do. But you know, bulletproofing the transaction is exactly what it sounds like. It's taking all the necessary precautions and preemptively planning for things that can go wrong in the deal, and making sure to, you know, kind of stitch the wounds before, or rather put a bulletproof vest on to avoid getting shot. And I think it's vital when you're doing deals. It's just super important when you're doing deals.
That's the fun part.
It is, but it's also really great when you do it correctly and it works. You see that you took the necessary steps to avoid problems, and then the problem comes up and you already have it solved. Like, you speak to a mortgage broker and say, you know what, that buyer might have this and this problem, or like, hey, you ask the buyer, you know, let me think of like good examples. You know, it could be as simple as saying, hey, please don't buy that Mercedes you wanted to buy, you know. But it can also be like, hey, you know, I think this roof, but when you go to the seller and say, hey, you know, there's a leak in the roof, you should probably fix it before we even list the property, or you should at least start fixing it while it's listed. And this way we can tell the buyer that it's being done. So this way you don't miss out on all these buyers that just skip the deal. I mean,
Yep.
they don't even put an offer in because of that, or they do put an offer in, but now you're going to take longer to close because they're trying to negotiate with you on fixing it, and they might try to charge you more money than it's actually worth. The roof fix might be $20K. They're trying to get $40K out of you because they're already under contract, and they figure, you know what? Let me try to milk him for more.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it fixed on your dime, right? And you don't have to. It's a discussion we have, right? It's all about asking you what you want to do, but this might be an option for you. In this way, once the roof is done, or it's at least in process of being done, now you don't have to worry about all these issues. So this is just, bulletproofing, making sure that the buyer is aware of the closing costs, the seller is aware of the commission and closing costs, that everything is discussed and agreed upon. Just all of these different things are covered, and this way the chances of coming to a close in the time frame that both parties agreed to actually takes place. So that's super important.
Yeah.
Indeed. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
So, Jensy, unless there's something else you want to cover, I think we've had a very pleasant, enjoyable discussion.
I had tons of fun.
I feel nice and buzzed from the whiskey, so that's great. And ladies and Jensies, I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you got a lot of value, and I hope that as a realtor or any entrepreneur, you find your why, and if you have a great why, just don't quit, man, or woman.
Don't give up.
Quit.
That is the number one. It's not even how much work you put in. It's just don't give up.
Outwork and outlast. It just is what it. And you're also not going to really understand this shit until you've experienced it. Anything I've done, when I've listened to someone talking about these things, it doesn't process the same way as to when you are actually in the thick of it and you realize what they're saying truly means. And that's why entrepreneurship is so beautiful, because a lot of these big entrepreneurs, Andy Frisella, Gary Vaynerchuk, Patrick Bet-David, I'll throw those three out there. They talk about the incredible amounts of pain they had to go through to get to where they were, and people still throw shade at them and make it seem like they didn't have such hard lives, that they grew up with money and they didn't.
It always looks like that. I don't know why. I don't know what it is.
Because it's a cop-out, dude. It's very easy.
Yeah.
When you shit on someone who's more successful than you, that you wish you could be, it takes away the need for you to go and do it. Because it's like, oh, well, they grew up with money. They are lucky. I could never do what they're doing. Let me affirm my insecurities and push it onto them, and this way I can go back to living my shitty life because I have no shot at being like them. But what they don't realize is the person doing what they're doing at the highest level, they've already received a million other criticisms like you. They know exactly why you're saying what you're saying, and they just brush it off. They feel sorry for you, maybe they even pray for you, and they say, buddy, you are literally the 100,000th person that said this exact shit.
Yeah.
We know why you're doing it. Go out and do what we're doing so you don't feel this way. It's really what it comes. They haven't gone through the challenges and struggles, and that's why they think that they don't have enough belief in themselves. So, peoples, again, Rafi the Realtor, follow my Instagram page for any of your real estate needs. You can check out my podcast there as well. I thank you for making it this far. And for all of your real estate needs as well, you can reach out to Mr. Jensy, okay, because he has a very nice smile, and he has nice mocha skin, nice cappuccino,
Thank you.
Yeah, nice cappuccino skin. He doesn't have to worry about sunscreen like I do, which is always nice. So, without further ado, I think I've said without further ado one, 2 or 3 times. It's the whiskey that's doing it to me. So, dudes and ladies and gents, and dogs and cats and bears and fish, we thank you very kindly for listening and tuning in. This has been another episode of Soothing Semantics with your host, Rafi Pinsky.
You forgot your last name?
Well, Isaac's my middle name. Pinsky's my last name. I forgot my middle name for a second.
Nice.
Love you guys. Thank you. And I will see you on the next one.